So today we start with something a very important topic of heat transfer, which is known as uh, laminar laminar flow forced convection in a pipe. There's a laminar flow of a fluid flowing in the pipe, and at the same time, the fluid which is flowing through that pipe undergoes forced convection. Now, when we say, first of all, what do you mean by convection? Now, convection is something which occur when there is a temperature difference exists between uh, any two solid surfaces or between the solid surface and the fluid with which it is in contact. So over there, the convection occurs. Now, the convection also can be defined as a process of energy transfer, which is affected by the circulation or the mixing of the fluid medium. Now, the fluid medium can be the gas, liquid, or it can be a powdery form. The transport of heat energy during convection is directly linked with the transport of the medium itself. And we can say that the convection is nothing but it's the combination of your conduction, which is through the medium, plus the flow motion or the fluid motion. So the combination of conduction plus fluid motion, the result is in convection. Now the convection can be categorized into further two categories. One can be the forced convection and the other one can be your free convection. Now when we say forced convection, for forced convection, the fluid motion uh, is occurs because of some sort of external factors, external forces which are involved. So that is the forced convection, or natural or buoyancy forces which are occurring, and so that is called free convection or natural convection, where the fluid motion is under the influence of natural effects. That is, it can be naturally the fluid is flowing because, or because of the buoyancy, the fluid is flowing. Now, when we talk about forced convection, we always deal with some dimensionless numbers, that is Nusselt number. Now, Nusselt number in a forced convection is a function of your Reynolds number and the Prandtl number, because Reynolds number has the velocity factor, which is because of the motion, and Prandtl number is because of the thermophysical properties of the medium or the substance. Whereas when we talk about free convection, you remember that your Nusselt number is the product of your Grashof number into your Prandtl number. So that's the difference between the forced convection and the free convection. Now let's say, start with the today's topic, that is laminar flow forced convection in a pipe. Now for this, let's consider a pipe, a cylindrical pipe, and in this cylindrical pipe, let's say this is the radius r, this is the dimension z, that's the radius of the wall. In this, the fluid which is flowing is incompressible Newtonian fluid, incompressible Newtonian fluid under the effect of laminar flow. And it's because of the pressure difference. The fluid is flowing mainly under the influence of pressure gradient. That is, a pressure gradient has been developed in this flow, and so as a result, the fluid is flowing in this pipe. Now, in this, what we do is we take a shell. We take a shell. Now, the shell is in form of a ring. The thickness of this ring in the axial direction is delta Z, and in the radial direction it is delta R. In the radial direction it is delta R. Let's say the x's are what we have, that is R and Z. Now in this what we are considering is basically we are considering unidirectional convection occurring. Unidirectional convection is occurring, plus we have two-dimension conduction occurring. Unidirectional convection and conduction and two-dimension conduction. That is, this means that the fluid, if it is flowing in a given direction, if suppose the fluid is flowing in this direction, so along in this direction, the convection is occurring, and conduction occurring is since the fluid is flowing in this direction, so the layers of the fluid are also in the radial direction, so there will be conduction occurring in the radial direction as well as in the axial direction. So by this is what I mean by unidirectional convection and two-dimension conduction. That is, in the axial direction, both conduction and convection is occurring, as well as in the radial direction. In the radial direction, only conduction is occurring. Clear? Along the axial direction, we have conduction plus convection. Along the radial, we have conduction only. Now, since we have already developed the velocity distribution of the fluid flowing through the pipe, so we can recall that expression. So we can directly write the velocity profile for a fluid flowing in the pipe under laminar conditions. So let's say that is Vz is nothing but P naught PL by 4 mu L, that is R square into 1 minus R by R whole square. So this we have already developed in your fluid flow, or in terms of Vmax, it can be written as Vmax as 1 minus R by capital R whole square, or in terms of average velocity, it can be written as twice of average velocity into 1 minus R by R square. So your velocity profile can be expressed in any of the terms, in terms of pressure drop, in terms of maximum velocity, and in terms of your average velocity. Now, what we consider over here, when the fluid enters into this pipe, at this particular point where Z is equal to 0, at this particular point, it undergoes a temperature change. Initially, let's say initially the fluid which is entering, it is having the temperature T naught. It is having a temperature T naught. When it reaches this point, that is at Z equal to 0, what is happening is the fluid starts getting heated up. Now the fluid gets heated up, and by the time it leaves out from this at Z equal to L, by the time it leaves out from this pipe, obviously there will be a temperature difference. So there will be some temperature over here. So what we do is, along this pipe, what is happening is, along this pipe, the fluid motion is already there, but at the same time, the fluid is being heated. So we need to determine that temperature profile within this pipe, because initially the fluid is having a temperature T naught. Now, as it reaches this point Z equal to 0, that is before it enters into this pipe, it undergoes the heat transfer. There is a heat occurring along this pipe, and by the time it leaves out at some different temperature which is greater than T naught. So what is happening is, we along this pipe there is a convection and conduction is occurring, and because of that conduction and convection there is a temperature difference, temperature being developed within the fluid. So we need to determine that temperature of that fluid. Now for this, for a cylindrical system, let's simplify this thing. Let's first, since it's the energy and conduction and convection is occurring, so let's represent some energy fluxes. Let's represent in an energy fluxes for in a cylindrical system in an easy way, in a very simpler way, in a cylindrical coordinates form. Let's say we have the molecular flux, we have the convective flux, obviously we have the total flux, that is the sum of the momentum flux plus the convective flux, and let's say we have some constraints. Constraints, basically the terms which are appearing in these, so how they are being represented. So in the radial direction, let's say in the radial direction the total energy is E and represented by R. So momentum flux at a molecular level, let's say because of conduction, QR is minus K dt by dr, or we can also represent it as QR as minus alpha del by del R of rho Cp T. Obviously multiply and divide by rho Cp, so we have minus alpha del by R rho Cp T, where rho Cp is some sort of a constant. In a convective flux, it will be, let's say, rho Cpt into your velocity Vr, which is there in the radial direction. This is the energy fluxes in a cylindrical coordinates. Now, in the theta direction, so we have q theta as minus k by r dt by d theta, or q theta as, give me a minute. Okay, so q theta is minus alpha by r del theta of rho cpt. So again, we have multiply and divide by rho cpt. So again, you can say rho cpt is a constant. Whereas for a convective, it is rho cpt into your v theta, because it's nothing but the rate of heat per unit area, so it is rho cpt only. And then we have the third term in the z direction. So in the z direction, so qz is minus k dt by dz, or qz is minus alpha del by del z of rho cpt, or it can be rho cpt into the velocity vz, where rho cp is constant. So these are some sort of the energy fluxes which are occurring in the cylindrical system. That's the total, which is the combination of both molecular as well as convective. So these are there. Now, what's the significance of considering these fluxes at a molecular level and convective level? That I'll discuss in a minute. Now, over here in a case where we need to determine the temperature profile. Now, The temperature profile which will develop over here, since there is a conduction and convection occurring in both radial as well as in the axial direction, so we say that the temperature profile must be a function of R and Z. It must be a function of R and Z. Also, since the fluid is only flowing in the Z direction, so what we are considering is the velocity component in R direction and velocity component in theta direction are considered to be zeros. So this is what is there, or this is what we are assume, that since the velocity profile is in the axial direction, so we are not considering the velocity in the radial direction and theta direction. Also, the convection and conduction are occurring in the radial as well as in the axial direction. So the temperature profile will be a function of R and Z only. Clear? So if you see that the temperature is a function of radial and Z direction, so we can say that there will be two type of fluxes which will be involved in this. One is the radial direction and the other one will be your Z direction, ER and EZ. So if we say ER, so we'll be considering minus k dt by dr, and if we say EZ, we'll be considering minus k dt by dr plus rho cpt into Vz. Now, why we are dealing with only these two? Because we have already specified that there is the radial direction and the axial direction. Now, if you look at this figure over here, now in the axial direction, there is a conduction and convection occurring. Now, in the axial direction, that is in the Z direction, conduction and convection. Now, convection factor is this. Conduction is at a molecular level. So, we have the conduction term. So, that's why Ez is written as the conduction term as well as the convection term. Whereas in the radial direction only, in the radial direction, there is only conduction occurring. So, in the radial direction, it's only the conduction term occurring. Clear? So that's why we'll be considering these two energy fluxes. Now, since there is no generation occurring in the system, so the energy balance will be rate of energy in minus rate of energy out plus generation is equal to accumulation. Since there is no generation, it is zero. Under steady state conditions, the accumulation term is zero. So what is left is whatever the energy in, rate of energy in minus rate of energy out is equal to 0. Clear? Now in minus out, so we'll apply the energies uh, in both the radial direction as well as in the axial direction. Now energy in at radial direction, in the radial direction, the energy in the radial direction. So what will be the energy in the radial direction? That will be entering over here and the surface area. So 2 pi r into dz into er. That will be the energy in. So the surface area 2 pi r into delta z into er at r. Clear? And out in the radial direction, that will be 2 pi r delta z into er at r plus delta r. Clear? Now energy in the z direction. Now in the z direction, that means energy which is entering in this portion only, which is occurring in this portion. That is the fluid which is entering into this ring. So for that, energy in at z direction will be the area, the surface area of the ring. That will be 2 pi r delta r into Ez at z. Similarly, out will be 2 pi r delta r Ez at z plus delta z. Also, we are neglecting the gravity effects. So we put all the in and out terms in the main equation. So all the in terms in minus out. So we have 2 pi r delta z into er minus 2 pi r delta z into er at r plus delta r. So in minus out plus in minus out for z direction, 2 pi r delta r into ez at z minus 2 pi r delta r into ez at z plus delta z equal to 0. So what we do is now we divide the entire equation by 2 pi delta z and taking limits delta r approaches 0 and delta z approaches 0. So if we take the limits, so what we have is limit delta r approaches 0. So we have r er at r minus r er at r plus delta r over delta r plus limit delta z 0 r ez at z minus ez at z plus delta z over delta z equal to 0. So what we have is del by del r of r er plus r del of ez by del z equal to 0. So we have this term. Now we introduce the expressions of energies into this. So if we introduce what is er and ez, so which comes out to be minus k by r del by del r of r del t by del r minus k del square t by del z square plus rho cp pz del t by del z equal to 0. So these are the expressions which are there. Now if you look at this expression, allow let me rearrange this in a very good way, so then the things will be more clear. So rho cp vz dt by dz, that is this term, can be taken as k by r del by del r of r del t by del r plus k del square t by del z square. Now if you look at this expression, just nothing, I've taken this on the other side, so it on rearranging we have this. Now what is this? Now if you look at this term, this part is convection in the z direction. This is conduction in the r direction, that is conduction in the radial direction, and this is conduction in the z direction. So we club the conduction terms and we club the convection terms. Now if you look at this, convection is in the radial direction and conduction is in the radial as well as in the z direction, and this is what we were started with initially, that if you look at this figure, so conduction was occurring in the axial direction as well as in the radial direction, whereas the convection is only occurring in the z direction. So this is what we have the expression, the convection is in the z direction, whereas conduction is in the both radial as well as in the axial direction. Now from here, there is a very important term occurs, that is the ratio of convective flux to molecular flux. The ratio of convective flux to molecular flux is called Peclet number. It's called Peclet number. Now, Peclet number is mu L by alpha, okay, which is mu L Cp by K. So it's this thing, mu, this one, the kinematic viscosity. Now, total flux, which is the sum of molecular flux plus the convective flux. Now, the total flux, which can be termed as the molecular flux or convective. Now, depending upon the Peclet number, the total flux can be purely have a significant, the total flux can purely be defined by molecular flux only, or it can purely be defined by the convective flux only, or it can totally be defined depending upon both the factors, molecular and convective. So these factors are basically if Peclet number is much less than 1, that is if Peclet number is very small. Now if Peclet number is very small, so that means molecular flux is behaving in a much significant way in comparison to convective. So it will be, total flux will be nothing but your molecular flux. If Peclet number is much greater than 1, so that means convective part is more significant in comparison to the molecular flux. So in that case, total flux will be nothing but your convective flux. And if Peclet number is close to 1, so it's both, so both convective and your molecular are significant. Clear? So depending upon the Peclet number, so the total flux, the total energy which is being studied in a system, it can purely be your at a molecular level, or it can purely be at a convective level. So that is defined by the Peclet number. So if Peclet number is much less than 1, it will be purely a molecular level. So only the conduction part will be occurring. And if the Peclet number is much greater than 1, so it's purely convective part. So that means the energy is purely transported because of the motion associated with the fluid. And if the Peclet number is equal to 1, so in that case, both the convection part and the conduction part is significant. Clear? So depending upon this, we'll take our case. Now, in our system, in a system which we have studied, which we are studying over here, so we can assume that the heat conduction in the axial direction. In the axial direction, we are considering both conduction and convection part. In the axial direction, the heat conduction is quite small in comparison to the convection part. Uh, the conduction is quite slow in comparison to the convective part, because the fluid is flowing under laminar conditions in this. Clear? So in the axial, you can write down the assumption over here that in the axial direction, the conduction is very small in comparison to convection. Because what is happening is, in the axial direction, the fluid is moving at a quite under laminar conditions. So the conduction which is occurring in the axial direction is not up to that significant effect. So that's why the convection is more in comparison to molecular. So that means Peclet number we are assuming is much greater than 1. So if Peclet number is much greater than 1, that means the convection part is more in the axial direction. The convection part is more in the axial direction. So that means this part will remain there, but the conduction in the z direction will leave. So that means this is subject to 0, or this can be neglected in comparison to the convection in the z direction. So this equation reduces to rho Cp Vz dt by dz equal to K by R del by del R of R del T by del R. So it is this term. So the equation finally reduces to this part. That is, this is the convection and this is the conduction occurring. Convection is occurring in the z direction and the conduction is occurring in the radial direction. So we'll continue our lecture tomorrow from this particular point only. That this is what we are left with. That is the convection in a pipe. The convection is occurring and the conduction is occurring. The convection is purely in the axial direction and the conduction is purely in the radial direction. Clear? So tomorrow we'll continue with the lecture from here on. Thank you so much.